Hello explorers, it's Darren here and welcome to my new studio. Well, it's not, it's my bedroom, but it's a nicer space to be able to shoot video. But anyway, I'm really buzzing right now because I'm planning my trip around the world and I'm just getting so excited. I'm currently looking at my route from Los Angeles to New York, and I'm going to be planning to travel by train and coach, which should be quite interesting because I've been reading some of the reviews about the Greyhound buses, which have been quite entertaining to say the least. But I'm really excited about the trip. I'm planning to spend a week in LA and then travel across the US for 2 weeks and spend a week in New York. I'm hoping to get into Canada and spend another 2 months in the US, but that all depends on my budget and what happens on the trip and how much money I spend. But a lot of you have been asking me about offering some tips on how to travel alone, because it's something that a lot of you want to do but you don't have the confidence, and I completely understand that. I've got a small circle of friends. I wouldn't say, I'd be lying if I said that I've got a load of friends, but I've got a small circle of friends who've settled down and we occasionally go out for a drink, but we don't go on holiday. If I didn't travel by myself, then I wouldn't see anywhere in the world. So it depends on your circumstances. I'm an introvert. I'm quite shy. Coming across on camera, I may not come across as being shy, but meet me in a street and yes, I'm pretty quiet guy. Talking to a camera seems, I don't know, it seems easier than talking to a human being. That just sounds sad, but you get me. So my tips really about travelling around the world or travelling to any place by yourself is do some research and think about the types of things that you want to do in that destination. And it's also worth thinking about the location of where you're going to be staying. So for example, one of the mistakes I made, my first holiday abroad by myself, was to Benidorm in Spain, and I didn't do any research in the hotel, and to say it was pretty wild is an understatement. And I'm not a wild kind of guy. I don't go out clubbing, and I never did when I was 18 years old. To be in that environment, I felt really uncomfortable and I ended up having to change my hotel. Thankfully the tour operator that I booked through allowed me to do that, and I found a much quieter hotel which was much more to my kind of personality. So location is really important, so have a think about that. Read reviews. There's tons of reviews on the internet. TripAdvisor, Holiday Watchdog, just 2 of the websites that are worth checking out. Also look into and research about travel scams, because you've got to be careful. I'm not trying to frighten you, but I think it's worth being armed with some information about the type of scams that go on in the destination that you're visiting. And I'll give you a good example. Around probably about 8-9 years ago, I went to Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia. Absolutely fantastic city, beautiful city, friendly people. But I'd read about a scam where basically con men were hanging around hotels waiting for people like me coming out of their hotel that looks to be vulnerable. And what they would basically do is start a conversation with them, being very friendly, asking about where they live, and yeah, being very friendly. And it's very difficult when you're in that situation where you visit a new country. You don't want to be rude, but you also have to be a little bit careful about what you say and do. So this individual invited me for a drink in a local cafe to talk about football and just life in general. Now that individual could have been a very nice, friendly person, and I would have had a fantastic coffee and chat. This sounded very much like a scam that I read about, and basically what happened is they picked on vulnerable people, they took them to the cafe and basically robbed them. And I'm not trying to scare you with that. That's just an example of a travel scam that goes on that you have to be careful about. Do a Google search for the destination you're going to and the word travel scam or travel scams. You'll find a lot of information. It's really worth doing. And a lot of the time it's really common sense. For example, I never ever go clubbing and drinking late at night. By 9, 9:30, maybe 10 o'clock at an absolute push, I'm back in my hotel or apartment and I'm just relaxing, chilling out. I'm not one to be going out drinking into the early hours because that's when you're at the most vulnerable. That's when if you've had a few to drink, you forget about your mobile phone, your wallet, or your money, credit cards, debit cards. You've got to be really careful. You've got to be sensible. When you're walking around at night, don't walk down any dark alleys. And the final tip I would give is don't act like a tourist. Now, I know that sounds crazy when you are a tourist, and in some countries that's very difficult to get away with. But what I don't do is walk around with a map and look lost. If I am genuinely lost, I just keep walking until I find somewhere where I can go into a cafe, have a drink and get a map out in a much more private environment than stood on a street corner. I hope this video has been useful for people that haven't travelled alone. If you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I would love to read your questions, or if you've got any tips that you'd like to share with other people, please feel free to leave them in the comments section below. What I love to do is to read and reply to your comments, so it feels like we're creating a great little community here on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do, and then you'll receive notifications when I upload new videos in the future.